It's New Year's Eve and I want to watch some wrestling. NXT's going to be on. Okay, that's great. We're going to watch NXT. And do a little bit of a review of it. They didn't do a lot on this show. They didn't actually do much at all. But it was on TV, and I'm never going to turn away from NXT. So here we go. Kalani Jordan defeated Lola Vice. Of course, there was interference because there's way too much interference in WWE shows. Cora Jade showed up with a stick, and she distracted both parties. Kalani Jordan ended up winning with a roll-up. After the match, Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan both got beat with the stick. Stephanie Vaquer had to save them. And then Lola Vice did a spinning back fist which hit Stephanie Vaquer in the face. At that point, they started arguing as Lola Vice was trying to apologize, but Stephanie wasn't trying to hear it. After the match, Kalani Jordan went back there and actually was instigating, telling them both, hey, didn't you tell me to calm down? Didn't you tell me to get over it? Maybe you guys should get over it. So then Ava made a fatal four-way match for the number one contender for the women's North American title. It's going to be Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice, Cora Jade, and Stephanie Vaquer. All right, so the match itself was fine. They tried to give Kalani Jordan some edge, which she needs a great deal. I'm not a big fan of Lola Vice always losing, though. She loses a lot lately. Way too much. Now, in terms of who's going to be challenging Fallon Henley for the North American title, I think it's pretty clear that it's going to be Stephanie Vaquer. I don't like this idea because I figured what they were going to do was because they had so many influx of female talent at one time. I think within the course of 3 months, they brought in their three big female signings, Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, and Zarya. Zarya tends to get a short end of the stick on this whole thing. But I figured Julia was going to be, one of them was going to be the top girl, other one's going to be the mid-card girl, another one's probably going to be chasing. But it seems like they're going to put her in the tag team division, which I'm not thrilled about. But Stephanie as the North American champion could be fine. I'm not, automatically putting, Fallon Henley down. There is a chance that Fallon Henley could beat Stephanie, only for Stephanie to have to work her way back to wrestling Fallon, because that's Shawn Michaels' favorite. He likes to do that. But for right now, we can just kind of envision that Stephanie's going to win this Fatal 4-Way. But it's also a situation where Stephanie and Cora could counteract each other. Both of them, they've been feuding for a while. So perhaps they can counteract each other. They'll cancel each other out. And that'll lead more than likely to Kalani Jordan winning. But I like Lola Vice. And I think Lola Vice she was booked strong for a large part of 2024. And then for the last several months, she's just been losing a lot. And I don't understand why. I don't get it. We'll figure it out, though. They did the NXT Awards. So we're going to go through some of those now. Obafemi, Josh Briggs, and Dijak won Match of the Year in NXT. Which, of course, means that this is not serious. Nothing with Dijak is Match of the Year. Hate to break it to you. In terms of NXT Match of the Year, I don't know what it should have been. But it being Josh Briggs and Dijak, get real. Joe Hendry won Moment of the Year. This led to Joe Hendry teasing that he could show up anytime, anywhere. And then they had a Raw commercial right after this, which led to a lot of people being very angry. Somebody on Twitter says that people act like Joe Hendry is the second coming of Adolf Hitler, which is facts. I don't understand what the guy did to them to piss them off so much, except for get over and not be in WWE or AEW consistently. But I don't think that he's going to show up on Netflix. I don't think they'll give him that platform. I do believe he probably will show up in the Royal Rumble. He's kind of been pitching for that. And I think NXT has really kind of It's been the platform kind of to ease him into WWE. Now, in terms of moment of the year, Joe Hendry showing up, it was a big moment. But I still think that Jordan Gray showing up was an even bigger moment because she was the first one to do it. She came over from TNA and challenged for the NXT Women's title. She wrestled on the show. Now, most people would kind of be like, well, Jordan Gray showed up at the Royal Rumble, so it wasn't that big of a surprise. But it was. Nobody knew she was going to be there. Nobody thought she was going to wrestle for a title at a pay-per-view on NXT. Now, Joe Hendry was probably got a bigger mainstream reaction in terms of a lot of people started paying attention to NXT when it happened. So I think that's maybe why you would give it to Joe Hendry. But I personally think that people are winning awards that Jordan Gray should win. Roxanne Perez was clearly the woman of the year. That was fairly obvious. Fraxium won the tag team of the year, which of course was very obvious. And then NXT Man of the Year, which was the final segment of the show. We'll talk about that when we get there. It was actually Obafemi. I thought it was going to be Trick Williams, but it ended up being Obafemi. So I can't complain about that. You know, Obafemi is fantastic. So yeah, I agree with that. The second match on the show was Cedric Alexander versus Ethan Page. Cedric Alexander was disgusted at Ethan Page's behaviors of attacking young Javon Evans. Said that his jaw was wired shut. And he's not even worried about Javon Evans getting back in the ring. He's more worried about Javon's quality of life. But then he's also said that Javon wants to fight him at New Year's Evil. Wants to fight Ethan Page, rather. Ethan Page said that he should have stayed away. Should have minded his own business. Because now he's going to be in the hospital next to Javon. The two of them brawled to the ring. They were supposed to wrestle, I guess, in the main event. But it ended up happening right now, second. Cedric Alexander versus Ethan Page. Cedric Alexander is another one of these guys. He's been around forever. He's gaining a little bit of weight. He's getting very comfortable. You know, Ethan Page wins with the twist of fate. He's changed his finisher. He's calling it the Twisted Grin, which I'm not mad at. You know, I'm not mad at that. Ethan Page is seemingly taking a harder, more vicious edge in his matches because he continued to attack Cedric Alexander after the match, even crushing his hand in a toolbox. And I'm like, okay, Ethan Page trying to have an edge. Look at you. He's still a dork, but he's trying. He's trying hard. I don't want to knock a guy for trying, but Ethan Page is an absolute 100% dork. But I'm willing to see where it goes. He hasn't been in NXT for a while. He's starting to change his character from what it was in TNA and what it was in AEW to something else. And I'm giving him the space to do that. All right. It's funny how this guy was in WWE not even a full year and he's already changing his gimmick. Other people have been in other places for much, much longer and haven't changed a goddamn thing. Anyway, Tyson and Tyreek were upset with Hank and Tank. Sean Spears tried to recruit them, but they was interrupted by Wes Lee, who said they don't need him because they already got somebody. It turns out it's going to be a 6-man tag, which ended up being the in-ring main event of this. What a disgusting concept that is. And Hank and Tank went and found Andre Chase. So Andre Chase is kind of down in the dumps. And somebody walked up to him and says, when the next classes? And he was like, it's over. Chase University is over. That was so sad. And then he came out there and wrestled in a dress shirt. And then he quit in the middle of the match. So Tyreek, Tyson, and Wes Lee defeated Hank, Tank, and Andre Chase. All right. Andre Chase is disillusioned because of the end of Chase University. That makes sense. They're trying to build this bond between Tyson, Tyreek, and Wes Lee. Wes Lee is a super senior in NXT. He's been there since 2020. MSK was there in 2020, right? 2021. It's got to be time for him to leave, right? It's got to be time for him to get out of NXT at this point. He's just kind of doing extra laps. You know, like he's already done his quota. Now he's just doing extra laps now. It's like he's JC Jane level. You know, he's just doing extra shit now. Speaking of JC Jane, the third match on the show was a triple threat tag team match. Casey Catanzaro, I'm sorry, Katana Chance, that's the name she's going by, and Kaden Carter versus Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson versus Shotzi and Gigi Dolan. So Shotzi, Gigi Dolan, and Tatum Paxley, they're going by Chemical X. That's the name of their faction. Chemical X, of course, was the ingredient that created the Powerpuff Girls, which I think is a very interesting inspiration. It's a very interesting inspiration. They're like the gothic Powerpuff Girls. Okay. Shotzi was throwing her body around in this match again. I mean, Shotzi, my God. She does not care about getting injured. She does not think twice about doing anything. She just goes out there and does dives. Look, I said it before, but as crazy as Darby Allin tries to pretend he ain't got shit on Shotzi. Shotzi just does not give a fuck about her own body and her own well-being at all. I mean, she don't care about her knees, elbows, back, neck, nothing. She is going out there to destroy everything. That kind of commitment to the bit. That's what I talked about a couple of weeks ago. I think I said, wrestlers that do it for the love of the game. She's on NXT in a throwaway tag team match that she's not going to win, and she just says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna throw myself on the floor." Just like, let's do it. That's what I'm here for. Don't know how to do it any other way. That shit, that Jeff Hardy energy, that's very special to a lot of people who love indie wrestling. I can see Shotzi being a favorite among them. But the winners of the match were Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson because of JC Jane, who showed up and pushed Gigi Dolan off the top rope, which led to the Meta Girls winning. After the match, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn mocked the Meta Girls and said that they want to win their tag team championships back. And they've already beaten the Meta Girls, but they're willing to beat them again. So they're going to have number one contenders match, which is going to be Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. All right. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson getting that push. I'm okay with this. I don't necessarily like the idea of Chemical X just forming and already losing. Look, I get it though. Shotzi and Gigi have both been in NXT since like 2021 or 2019 or something like that. They've been in NXT forever. There's some more super seniors that likely are on their way out the door. But the Meta Girls are probably more likely to be out because of Lash Legend than Gigi or Shotzi. They're probably going to be in there for a while. But why not give them some space to grow this character and grow their bond and everything? Could have just been a regular tag team match that they could have won. And like they have to normalize letting people get over. Let people win sometimes, man. Shotzi's going to go out there and destroy her body. Let her win something, for God's sake. And the forever feud between JC and Gigi, my good God, the forever feud between these two. They need to have I thought they had a blow-off match already, but now they're both in factions, so it's starting up all over again. So we're just going with round 6 of their feud. It's like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. It's never going to end. It's Ryu and Akuma. It's Ryu and Sagat. Something. This thing is going to Goku and Vegeta. It's just going to go on and on forever with no end in sight. Loki and Thor. It's just going to keep going. Just keep going and going and going. Like, my God, please think about it. Think about it. Reconsider, Sean. Anyway, Lexis King and Ava. So Ava says that she checked the rule books and she's not sure that the Heritage Cup can change hands on a disqualification. Despite the fact that Lexis King technically won the match, the cup probably cannot change hands on disqualification. So she's going to order a single elimination sudden death match between Charlie Dempsey and Lexis King. Lexis King was very upset by this, did not like it. But he was forced into this and very disappointed. He was very proud of himself for winning the cup without cheating, without having to take any shortcuts. And then she told William Regal, "Hey, I would like for you to not get involved with this." But before she even finished that statement, he was already out. He was already done. So More than likely, what we're going to see is Lexus King lose the Heritage Cup because he was playing fair, realize that playing fair doesn't get him anywhere, and he's going to snap. That's going to be what pushes him over the edge and turns him into, I guess, his version of the loose cannon. Is he's going to have something taken away from him, and this is likely going to be it. He won the Heritage Cup fair and square, then he's going to get taken away from him. He's going to end up losing. I see that coming. So Ruka and Zarya kind of made some jokes about not being tag team of the year because they lost last week, and they weren't very good. And then Zarya says, "Oh, well, against Ruka or whatever," basically says, "Oh, hey, we just got to put some more thought into it. It's okay, let's keep trying, and then we'll fix this." Then Ruka went out to have a solo match against Izzy Dane. Shawn Spears came out to support Izzy Dane. He was watching from the balcony, while Zarya actually came out to support Ruka. She was at ringside. Izzy then pushed Zarya into Ruka's moonsault, which was gorgeous, by the way, and basically trying to force issues between the two of them. Ruka then was so distracted by this after the moonsault, she ended up getting beat by a double choke slam or whatever that Izzy Dame does as a finish. Izzy Dame is very underrated as a female. She's not featured a lot, but she's pretty good. Ruka is one of the best in NXT. Well, she's one of the most exciting in terms of actually learning how to put the psychology in between the big moves she can do. She and Kalani Jordan both have to have work doing that. But Ruka is like one of the most athletic women in the history of this business, probably the most athletic woman in the history of wrestling in North America. Maybe there's some Japanese girl who's like 14 who can do this stuff and do these flips and everything better than Ruka. But right now, she's the top. Her and Kalani Jordan are the top tier, most athletic women I've ever seen in wrestling. But they have not, really hunkered down on the wrestling part, making it look like a fight, making it look like a drama, making it look like a struggle. That's the part that they're missing. And that's what NXT's for, because both of them have not been wrestling for 2 or 3 years yet. So I guess they're going to still continue with this Zarya Ruka tag team idea. I ain't big on it, but they're going to do what they're going to do, I guess. So whatevs. So Tony D'Angelo, after this match, he said he played the role of Zion Quinn as Shawn Spears was following Izzy Dame around. He keeps trying to recruit her. She doesn't want anything to do with him. And then Tony D'Angelo was like, "Hey, don't you see that the lady don't want nothing to do with you?" So Shawn Spears told him to mind his own business, which is, 100% the right thing to tell somebody. And then Tony D'Angelo said that he wants this guy taken care of. So I'm not sure if it's Stack or Luca Crucifino, but somebody's going to try to take care of Shawn Spears. Okay, he put a hit on him. He's going to the mattresses on Shawn Spears' bitch ass. He's so useless. My God, I hope he gets buried. I hope they throw him in the river. If you talk about throwing somebody in the river, Shawn Spears, perfect for that. If we're gonna throw somebody in the garbage, Shawn Spears is perfect. So there's that. All right, so we got an update on Carmen Petrovich and Ashani Diadonis and Nikita Lyons, the love triangle that everybody hates. So Ashani Diadonis reaches deep into his scent bag. I mean, he was scratching the bottom of the scent bag. And he says to Carmen Petrovich via voicemail, so it's written in the stars at this point. He says, "Oh, baby, you the one. I don't want nobody but you. If I can't hang out with you on New Year's Eve, I don't want to be with nobody." So then Nikita Lyons shows up. As soon as he hangs up the phone, she just shows up. I mean, big as a house, by the way. I mean, she's big and bad. It's a big girl. And then she invites him to a party. He says, "If Carmen's not going to be there, I ain't going with nobody." And she is like, "Whoop, too bad." And just kind of toddles off. It's just like, oh my goodness. I get it, man. It's hilarious. Look, this is very cheesy. This is very, very cheesy. But I find it entertaining. because it doesn't overstay its welcome. And I'm a big Nikita Lyons fan, even though I make fun of her for being big. She's a different body type. She just needs to know how to work her body type and stop trying to do all these splits and all that stuff. If you learn how to work a different body type, it might work out. Ashani the Adonis is funny as fuck though. I don't know, like he's killing me. Like one week he's a pimp with all these hoes. Next thing you know, he's a simp and he's a one woman man. It's like, make up your mind. What are you, Too Short on the what was that TV show? Couples Therapy. Todd is really me. Too Short is just a character. Ugh. That killed the mythology of Too Short. I couldn't even listen to a Too Short album after that. It was so terrible. Not like I was a big Too Short fan anyway. But then you realize how much of a gimmick he is. Ugh. Anyway, the main event segment. The final segment on the show. Obafemi, Trick Williams face-to-face with a run-in by Eddie Thorpe. So, Obafemi says that these awards don't matter because he won the NXT Man of the Year. And says that he was the captain now. He's calling the shots. He's the boss of NXT. He's the ruler. He's the king. Trick Williams comes out there and cuts a hilarious promo. He says that he came out here and he says that he needs that old thing back. He needs to become Tricky McGrady. That, what we said, Trick Curry. Tricky McGrady. Michael. I need that Michael trick. I'm just like, what is he talking about? But I get it. I get it. He's talking about being at the top of his game, And then he says that he knows that Obafemi got a nickname too. It's called Beatable Oba. And then Oba was like, what? And he was like, yeah, because if you weren't beatable, we'd be having a champion versus champion match right now. But you lost. So that means you can be beat. And he says, you chasing me for a reason. I was like, oh, he's cooking Oba. Nah, man, he's really getting in there. He's cooking this man. And then, as they really was getting it in, Eddie Thorpe showed up and attacked both of them. And he hit Obafemi with the ring bell, which is the award. And then he kicked Trick Williams out of the ring. And he's getting heat just because nobody wants him involved with this. Nobody wants Eddie Thorpe there except Eddie Thorpe. Everybody who sees this segment, everybody who is watching NXT, nobody wants Eddie Thorpe involved in this feud. And that's actually where the heat is. The heat is in the fact that this guy nobody wants is the guy who's in this thing. Clearly he can't win this. Please God, he can't win, right? Like, that would be a disaster. Clearly Eddie Thorpe is just in this match to lose. So that Oba nor Trick has to take the pinfall and they can continue their feud. Now, I get it. That frustrates a lot of people. But New Year's Evil is a television special. It's not a pay-per-view. So the idea that you're going to be able to steal the television special and then build the bigger match for the pay-per-view, that's common sense to me. That's something that a good booker who has good business sense would do. Is that you would say, okay, we could have this huge match and we could have this huge match on TV for free. Or we could say, hey, there's a streaming service. We're going to be trying to sell tickets to this pay-per-view. Let's do the biggest match we can possibly do, which would be Trick Williams versus Obafemi. So Eddie Thorpe's just kind of in this thing as a stopgap. I would expect, because it's so far away for the first pay-per-view, I think their first pay-per-view was in March. Usually there's like a TV special or two before Stand and Deliver, which is usually around WrestleMania. But I'm trying to remember what the pay-per-view or the show in February is called. It's the Valentine's Day themed show. I'm not sure if that's a TV special or if that's a live event, a premium live event. Either way it goes, it's over a month from now. So the idea that Oba and Trick can carry their feud into Stand and Deliver, which I know for sure is a pay-per-view, that's a long walk. you're probably going to end up having to do more side quests before we get there. So it'll probably end up being more Oba versus Thorpe, or more Trick versus Thorpe, or whatever, until we get there. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's too far away. My thing is, Obafemi won the right to fight the champion. It should have been one-on-one. You know, that's me. I'm not going to lose any sleep over Eddie Thorpe being there, because I understand the business part, but we don't need Eddie Thorpe here, and we don't need this feud to go 3 months. It's just a big fight. That's it. You gave us a reason for the fight to happen. Now let's just get it done. And to be quite honest, Oba needs that belt, and Trick doesn't really need it anymore. I don't think Trick needs to be called up, because he still needs to be in NXT, because his work needs to improve. But he most certainly does not need to be NXT champion anymore. And unless you got a plan for him to be wrestling other people before losing the belt to Obafemi or someone else, I would suggest that we get to the Obafemi thing as quickly as possible, because that's the biggest match you could do in NXT right now. And I think that's preferable than anything that involves Eddie Thorpe, which they've hot-shotted into this situation. I do want to have one more thing, and this is just it's not an NXT thing, but it is kind of. One thing that I'm tired of seeing, and I never want to see it again, is people doing the sitting pin. And what I mean by that is people who are sitting on people's chests, you know, when they pin them. I don't know when that started. It probably started on the indies, but please pin people normally. I don't want to see. I've seen like Axiom and Nathan Fraser do it. A bunch of women's matches involved with women, you know, pinning each other, with one of them sitting on the other one's chest and them lifting the legs. It's so Bush League. It does not look professional. You know, a pin should look like you're really trying to win the match, not that you're styling on your opponent. I mean, get real. I think it happened on this show, which is what made me trip on it, but I'm kind of flipping on what match it was. But it happens so often in so many shows now. It's so super fucking annoying. Like, stop doing that. Anyway, NXT was solid. It wasn't the best episode of NXT, clearly, but it was enjoyable. It wasn't boring. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a happy, safe, and pleasant New Year.